Hello, viewers. Welcome to the YouTube channel Lex Consilium Foundation, and I'm here in conversation with Senior Advocate Sudhish Pai, who's also very well known as an eminent law author and biographer. He has produced the book Legends in Law that would bring you all-time greats in Indian legal landscape. We have talked about very many of them, and now it's the occasion to talk about India's first Attorney General, Motilal Chimanlal Setalvad, and Sudhishi. On page 247 of your book, you have mentioned some remarks which Justice Beeman told Motilal Setalvad. Please bring
Yes,
this to for the information of our
very good. Mr.
viewers
Speaker,
here.
I set you on your mad career. To begin at the beginning, Motilal Setalvad joined the bar in 1911. I understand he had made a note in his diary, which perhaps brings out the man. No flattery, no dishonesty, no untruthfulness. They say these things are not possible, but must walk absolutely straight. Let me see whether it is possible or not. This is a note in his diary in 1911. This is the standard he set for himself. We can say that he lived up to it absolutely. And it was India's great fortune that you had Motilal Setalvad as the Attorney General. India's fortune, the Supreme Court's fortune. You had a man of his caliber to be the principal law officer as India set
Yes.
down its journey as a constitutional democracy.
An outstanding, yes,
Person in every way.
was widely respected.
Widely respected. And talking about a first class lawyer and a first class advocate, Motilal was one. His father, Sir Chimanlal, is reputed to have been a top class lawyer, but not that great as advocate. Motilal inherited all the qualities of his father, Chimanlal, and improved upon them and refined. That's what is said. And he joined the chambers of Gulabai Desai, about whom we have spoken. It's a fact that he didn't have much work to begin with, and even he was toying with the idea of giving up practice and taking up a job. And then, talking of this remark, Gulabai Desai sent him a brief, to hold a brief for him in Beeman's court. The matter in Justice Beeman's court went on for 2 or 3 days or 3 or 4 days. Setalvad is reputed to have done very well. That was perhaps his first case, or in any case, first case of some importance. And the judge, Justice Beeman, dictated an extempore judgment in which he applauded the manner in which Motilal conducted the case.
Oh.
And it is thereafter, that was a precursor, so to say.
It must have made good impact, yes.
In fact, Bulabai Desai, his senior, sent him a special check and wished him that this would be the harbinger of many more to come. And it did happen that way. It seems Bulabai, as we have spoken of, was flooded with cases. And on a Sunday afternoon, if he didn't have time to attend to the cases the next day, 15-20 briefs would be sent to Motilal Setalvad for Monday, miscellaneous matters. And Motilal would study them and appear. And that's how very soon he built up his career. And it is this that judge had in his mind when he said, I set you on your bad career.
Very interesting. You have also then on page 248 mentioned and remarked about the combination of Motilal Setalvad and Gulab Bhai Joshi. Now, why did you do this? What's the significance?
Again, Motilal Setalvad's chamber itself had many stalwart figures. But particular mention must be made of G.N. Joshi, Gulab Bhai Joshi, who joined him in 1932. Joshi was a first-class lawyer, but perhaps, I wouldn't say great, perhaps not that successful as an advocate. But his knowledge of the law was absolutely top class. Setalvad himself was his student. And this is not what I say, this is what Setalvad says. I learned my constitutional law from Joshi. This is what the senior speaks of the junior. In all those cases, 1932, then shortly thereafter, year 1935, Government of India Act, 1937 elections, and the Indian Congress ministries were installed in all the provinces. Yes. So Bombay also, you had 1937 P.G. Kerr as Prime Minister and Kulapati Munshi as Home Minister, and Motilal Setalvad was the Advocate General, with which he had to do a lot of constitutional cases.
Right.
And Joshi went a long way. Joshi also was one of those who wrote a commentary on the Government of India Act 1935 in Bombay.
Right.
In Madras, Rajagopal Iyengar, who was Sir Aladikar Swami's junior and later a judge of the Supreme Court,
Okay.
did the same thing in Madras, writing a commentary on the Government of India Act 1935.
Right.
So this was the kind of person that Joshi was. And both when Setalvad was Advocate General and later when he was Attorney General also,
Yes.
Joshi was with him. There was no case of constitutional significance where Joshi was not associated with Setalvad.
Right.
And the debt of gratitude that Motilal Setalvad owed and acknowledged. I mean, it's one thing to owe, but you don't have
Acknowledge,
gracious
yes.
to acknowledge.
But he did.
Setalvad had and did. So that was the kind of, that
Equation.
combination was great. And that combination was great even for India because, when you enunciate the law, particularly in the initial days when the constitution was just in its formative years.
In its infancy.
Yes, in its infancy. It's very important that you go on the right track.
Moving on page 249, you have remarked that Setalvad had a clear head and a capacity for clear speech. Now, the significance of this observation, I would request you to clarify to the audience.
Yes. Setalvad was absolutely clear in his thinking and his grasp. As they say, there were no cobwebs. And he was also precise in his articulation. It is said, if someone said it was a Setalvad-like argument for any lawyer, I think that's the highest compliment one could aspire. I mean, let us put it very clearly. Setalvad was not in the same brilliant mold as Sir Aladi. Aladi's scholarship was something above almost all the rung of humans.
Right.
It would be wrong, unfair, classify Motilal Setalvad in that class. As Hidayatullah says, the difference between them was between a top professor prepared for the next day's class and a lifetime scholar always ready with everything. But Setalvad could grasp without any difficulty. Even in his briefings, they were not long-winded conferences. Jot down the points, he would pinpoint the proposition, go to the core of the problem. I mean, he had that was the great quality that he had.
He possessed.
He'd wade through the jungle of details and get to the heart of the problem. So could Sir Jamshetji. And this is one of those great advantages they have because they are not lost in the non-essentials. They could focus on the essentials, the core, and deal with it. And then he put it across very precisely and concisely. We are told that even in very important constitutional matters in those formative years in the Supreme Court, Setalvad would finish his arguments in a couple of hours.
Yes.
And that's all. And in fact, Mr. Nariman was mentioning that if the judges asked him something and if he had no conviction, he would, in his stentorian voice, say, "That's all, my lord, I have nothing more to say." And the judges got the message that they better keep quiet. And Setalvad was not very much in favor of even what he was arguing. The message was very clearly conveyed. And talking of his precision, it's not in the book, but someone mentioned to me, someone who was a witness to this event. It happened in 1971-72. We have the famous H.S. Dillon versus Union of India.
Okay.
Case in 1972, 7-judge bench presided over by Chief Justice S.M. Sikri. The question was that the union could not levy wealth tax on agriculture. No less than Palkiwala argued for the petitioners.
Yes.
And he argued for 3 days. It's absolute brilliant advocacy. The Union of India was represented by Setalvad. After Palkiwala finished, it seems he asked Motilal, "How long would you take?" "Let us see," he said. It seems Motilal took 5 minutes and won the case.
Okay.
And he was, 1971, 72, he was about 87 or so.
Yes.
87, 88. It seems he just stood up and said the argument was that the Union of India had no power to levy this tax.
Yes.
So the entries in the 3 lists in the 7th schedule, you could not. Setalvad, it seems, just got up and said, "My lords, no power can be without a source. Every power must be located in some entry somewhere in the Constitution." And he read out entry 97 of the first list. That's the residuary entry. This is not anywhere, so then you go to the residuary entry. That's all about it. And sat down. The judges smiled. Palkiwala appeared lost. He lost the case. This is Setalvad advocacy. When you say brief,
His impact on the court.
Yes, the brevity was such
Yes.
that, it just came to you like an arrow and hit the
On
jaw
the target. Yes.
on the target.
Moving on, I would request you to give a few examples because you have highlighted his level of probity and adherence to values. Now, this is something which is very essential for the lawyers' fraternity and especially those who are embarking on this path early
Truly.
in their career. So, level of his probity and adherence to values.
News was something
You mentioned on page 256.
top
Yes.
class, top class. That would be their role model.
Yes.
Many of us may not be able to live that, but I think unless we have that as our aim and role, aim and model, we live in vain. I'm sorry, but I would repeat, without that, we live in vain. Because that was the kind of adherence to principles and values that he was absolutely impeccable in everything he did, meticulous. It seems there were two telephones in his official residence as Attorney General. One in the drawing room for the official calls, one inside the bedroom for personal calls. And if he had to make a personal call, even if he was sitting with an important visitor, and the phone was at his hand, he would go inside to make the personal call. It was.
Yes, that's the sort of sense of
That was the kind. Yeah.
values and probity. Yes.
Then he had to be given his fees only by check. There's an instance, I think, the Privy Purses matter, I think, or one of those where one of the Maharajas or Maharanis sent him a silver plate covered with a silken cloth. He thought it was some sweets. When they opened it, it was full of gold coins.
Okay.
Please get out of my place. Tell the Maharaja that I'm a lawyer, not a broker. I take my fees, not bakshis. And fees has to be paid by check. My own senior had an experience with him. He had briefed him for some, I think, coffee board matter in the Supreme Court and left a check for 1,700. After he came back to Bangalore, a week later or so, he got a letter from Setalvad thanking him for this, for the conference and the check, and saying, but kindly note, you have given me a check for 1,700. The fees per appearance is 1,600. Fees for conference is 80. So that adds up to 1,680. That is an excess of 20 rupees, and a check of 20 is enclosed.
Well,
So that
yes.
was the kind of.
The value system.
Yes, and when he went to The Hague to appear for India in the International Court of Justice, Justice Shafrullah Khan, who was a judge of our federal court, and on partition he moved over to Pakistan, and then he was in the international court, Pakistan's representative. So when Setalvad was in Hague, and he knew that, so he telephoned or sent word that they should meet, just a social
Yes.
meeting to catch up with old times for old time's sake. But Setalvad said, sorry, no, you're the judge, I am counsel, I am appearing before you, the case is still on. So even though we will not talk of the case, we are only to meet for old time's sake. No, I will not meet you.
And he must have stuck to it. Yes.
He stuck to it. He stuck to it. Yeah. So this is the the level of
Be an education to the people today.
Yeah.
Very many.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Yes. In fact, unfortunately today these would all appear like folklore, fairy tales, but they were real, and real not in ancient times, but say 50, 60 years ago.
Right.
And we wish that at least some remnants of that inspires us and fills our lives, so that we are not lost and we are not lost everything. Setalvad practiced almost to the end of his life, and in 1974, you find that very beautifully in Nariman's memoirs. In April 74, it seems he decided to retire. He went to Bombay as usual for the vacation, saying he would not come back. And in August 1974, he passed away. It seems he had told Nariman when he asked him, you're retiring? Yes, Fali, someday everyone has to go, and I think my time has come. I'm leaving. And the time had come not only for him to leave Delhi, but within 3 or 4 months, he left this world, leaving a blaze of glory in every way. That was Motilal Setalvad. And his meticulousness, just to about everything he did, he was 7 o'clock meant 7, it is neither 6:59 or 7:01. Mr. and Mrs. Setalvad would always go for a walk in the evening, it seems. By about 6:45, they would come back. Mrs. Setalvad would go into the house Mr. Setalvad would go into his home office. The 7 o'clock was the time fixed for conferences.
Right.
Mr. B. Sen, who again a very venerable person who joined the bar in 1948, mentions that on one occasion, Chief Justice Kania was the first Chief Justice and Mrs. Kania were guests sitting on the lawns, it seems, of the Attorney General's house, because they were old-time Bombay friends and colleagues, Mr. Kania and Mr. Setalvad. So they thought the conference would be delayed. After all, the Chief Justice is at home. But to the surprise of everyone, 7 o'clock sharp, Setalvad sat at his desk, it seems, leaving the Chief Justice and his wife to the care of Mrs. Setalvad.
Yes.
The conference started at 7. So that was the guy.
That was,
And then towards the end of his life, when Nariman had already become additional Solicitor General, he used to conduct the Bar Association of India Executive Committee meetings in his chamber. Setalvad was still
Supreme Court Bar Association. Yes.
Supreme Court Bar Association.
Yes.
And Supreme Court Bar Association and also Bar Association of India.
India.
Both,
Yes.
of which Setalvad was the president, and he would come, it seems so. 4 o'clock was the meeting, and exactly at 3:59 you could hear a knock at the doors. May I come in? That was Setalvad. So what do we say of such a
One
person?
could set the clock by
Yes.
his sense of timing and punctuality.
Even dinner, even at home, 8 o'clock is dinner. These are all, very, lived a very regulated life, both professionally and in his personal life. One of those very rare.
Thank you very much. And this conversation will continue about some other eminent persons too. Namaskar.